Imagine fierce Norse warriors, axes raised under blood-red skies, then, just a century later, find them in polished armor, ruling a sophisticated duchy in northern France, launching Conquest of England. What alchemy turned Viking raiders into Norman kings? Let me take you on a wild, little-known journey from terror on the seas to rulers of civilization. Sit tight. This story's full of brutal battles, political marriages, and a transformation so radical it still shakes the world today. Who were the Vikings? Let's step back and meet our protagonists. The Vikings. They weren't just hairy raiders. They were complex. Explorers, traders, farmers, equally at home in longships or trading halls. Emerging in the late 8th century, these seafaring warriors terrorized and traded across Europe. Their reputation for brutality, raiding monasteries, looting villages, grew larger than life, often overshadowing their deep craftsmanship and strategic acumen. But, and here's the twist, some Viking groups didn't just attack and leave. They stayed, they integrated, and nowhere was that transformation more dramatic than in Normandy. From raids to roots, the Vikings settle Normandy. Flash forward to 911 AD, King Charles the Simple of West Francia is desperate. Viking raids are relentless. He offers a deal, land in exchange for peace. Enter Rollo, a Viking chieftain, grizzled, ambitious, and wise enough to accept. He receives control over land that will become known as Normandy, literally land of the Northmen. Can you imagine? One day you're fighting tooth and nail on the Seine, the next you're shaking hands and building castles. Rollo pledges fealty to the king and in return receives legitimacy and land. The seeds of Viking transformation are planted. Over generations, these newcomers marry local Frankish nobility, learn the language, adopt Christianity, yet they still retain their Viking spirit, martial, bold, unyielding. The birth of the Normans, a hybrid identity. Now imagine the children and grandchildren of Rollo, speaking French, worshipping in Christian churches, ruling with ducal titles, but still known for fierce temperaments and battle prowess. These are the Normans. What's fascinating? They invented a dual identity from their Viking roots, taut nerves, naval excellence, readiness to conquer. From their new Frankish world, administrative savvy, ties to the church, feudal loyalty. It's like saying, yes, I still like a good raid, but could you pass the chalice, darling? This is the heart of the transformation. The pivot from sea raiders to feudal lords, from outsiders to power players. Brutality, redefined. Norman state building. Let's talk about brutality. Yes, it's still there, but with structure. When Duke William, called the Bastard, emerges, that Viking legacy and Norman institutional strength collide spectacularly. By 1066, he crosses the Channel, wrests England from Harold Godwinson, becomes William the Conqueror. Here's where the Vikings' ferocity meets a planned conquest, bureaucracy, castle burrowing, domesday, and it becomes something else, organized power. This isn't mindless brutality, it's brutal with a paper trail, census rolls, land surveys, feudal allegiances, Viking blood, Norman order. From raiding shores to planting roots in Normandy. The turning point, Rollo's bold deal, 911 AD. Picture this, Viking longships slicing through muddy rivers, axes glinting in early morning light. These are not images from history books. They're scenes ripped from real life, where Norse warriors smashed into Frankish towns, demanding tribute, treasure, terror. But history isn't just about chaos, it's about opportunity. In 911 AD, a remarkable exchange happens. King Charles the Simple, tired of constant raids, offers something unexpected: land, a slice of his realm, in exchange for peace and loyalty. Enter Rollo, a Viking chieftain, cunning, fierce, and wise enough to see that this isn't surrender. It's power dressed as diplomacy. A land for loyalty pact transforms Viking raiders into potential rulers. Rollo accepts, pledges fealty, gets the land that becomes Normandy, literally the land of the Northmen. And just like that, Vikings go from waterborne terror to rooted aristocracy. Imagine shifting your whole life, from raider to resident, in the course of one handshake. That's Rollo's move. blending two worlds, marriage, faith, and language. Once Viking leaders settle, they don't just call this place home, they become the place. 1. They marry into Frankish nobility, weaving their line into the local power structure. 2. They convert to Christianity, trading their Norse gods for baptismal water and a ticket into the political elite. 3. They learn French, adopting the tongue of their subjects and neighbors. These aren't small changes, they're monumental identity shifts, from outsider to insider, from pirate to peer. Intermarriage, faith, and language catalyze assimilation while preserving Viking grit. It's like gaining citizenship, but with more swords and fewer paperwork delays. Forging the Norman identity. More than Viking, not quite Frankish. A hybrid culture takes shape. Time rolls on, and you've got Rollo's kids and his grandkids growing up with a foot in two worlds. At home, they might recite their Viking lineage. At the ducal court, they recite the Lord's Prayer in French. This duality becomes their advantage. They become strategists on the battlefield and statesmen in their courts. Normans invent a hybrid identity combining Viking courage with Frankish administrative swagger. Kind of like speaking your mom's language but playing your dad's favorite sport. But that sport is raiding. Structured brutality, when chaos meets bureaucracy. Now, let's reframe brutality. Vikings were brutal, yes, but often chaotic. Normans bring a twist, brutal efficiency. They build stone castles, not just raiding forts, and they entrench a system of law, taxation, feudal loyalty. Their violence is purposeful, directed, enveloped in organization. Norman brutality becomes strategic state building, not random plunder, but power made permanent. And this marriage of muscle plus method shapes Europe's political future. Setting the stage for conquest. By the early 11th century, Normandy is humming, not just a Viking footnote, but a resilient duchy. When William the Bastard emerges, yes, that's Duke William's nickname before he conquers England, he is the product of both lineages. 1. Viking blood fueling his ambition and tactical daring. 2. Norman institutions sharpening his administrative edge. William's dual heritage makes him both fearsome warrior and effective ruler, a potent mix that sets up the epic 1066 conquest. From Normandy to empire, the Norman explosion. By the mid-11th century, Normandy wasn't just a duchy anymore. It was a powerhouse. Its dukes had the muscle of their Viking ancestors and the political cunning of the Franks. And at the center of this storm was William the Bastard, soon to be called William the Conqueror. In 1066, William seizes his moment. Claiming the English crown after King Edward's death, he launches the legendary Norman Conquest. The Battle of Hastings isn't just a fight. It's the climax of a century-long transformation. Viking ferocity meets Norman precision, and England falls under their banner. The Norman Conquest fuses Viking courage with Norman organization to change England forever. Once in power, William builds castles, enforces law, and commissions the Domesday Book, a meticulous survey of his realm. This isn't Viking chaos anymore. This is systematic control. From England to Sicily, from Jerusalem to Ireland, Norman knights spread across Europe carrying that unique blend of Viking daring and feudal order wherever they go. Legacy and why it matters. What's remarkable is that this transformation, from raider to ruler, reshaped Europe. The Normans go on to influence architecture, language, law, and even plant a seed in Sicily and beyond. In essence, the Vikings didn't vanish. They evolved, exported, and made civilization embrace its own Viking heritage. Isn't that inspiring? That the same courage that drove Norsemen to strike fear could also build lasting dynasties. That duality, chaos turned into creation, makes their story not just history, but a mirror for transformation in our own lives. Raw grit turned into structured greatness. From salt-soaked raiders to norm-embracing kings, the Vikings didn't just change shape, they invented an entirely new civilization. The brutal strength that once toppled villages became the steel that built castles and chronicles. If history could be this wild, this alive, why settle for ordinary? Dive deeper, stay curious, smash that subscribe button, because next time we're tearing down myths about another misunderstood tribe, or maybe uncovering how one of them became a world ruler. Hit share to fascinate a friend. Hit the like button and join us next time on the journey from chaos to civilization. You won't want to miss it.